After what I can only assume Ryan Reynolds thought was a triumphant appearance on Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, he must not have loved seeing Colin Jost come back to Saturday Night Live last night with a joke at his wife Blake Lively's expense. Colin Jost came back live and clearly made a joke at Blake Lively. Also, Blake Lively's now hired a crisis PR person, the same one who attempted to help cover up Hunter Biden's laptop. Oh my goodness, it's getting crazier and crazier by the day.
Saturday Night Live rarely spares the rod when someone steps into scandal territory. This time, Colin Jost aimed his comedic edge straight at Blake Lively. The moment he dropped that line on the SNL stage, you could feel the crowd perk up, almost smelling the drama in the air. Turns out, Jost decided to acknowledge the never-ending fiasco that's the Justin Baldoni-Blake Lively lawsuit. Maybe you'd expect a quick quip about random Hollywood gossip, but this was more personal, more biting. Viewers saw it as a crystal-clear sign. The Lively-Baldoni mess isn't just hush-hush rumor anymore. It's become a mainstream punchline, and Lively's not walking away unscathed. Awards ceremonies are usually the prime stage for shockers, but this time, the real stunner happened on a Saturday Night Live broadcast, courtesy of Colin Jost. In a single comedic riff during Weekend Update, he tackled the swirling controversy between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, going so far as to hint that Lively's legal maneuvers are far from innocent. The audience, caught between laughter and disbelief, recognized instantly that Jost had yanked a private dispute into the glare of comedic condemnation. Condemnation. Some might ask, why would SNL bother with a lawsuit that many believed was strictly behind closed doors? The short answer? The rumor mill has reached a fever pitch, and evidently Jost felt it was an easy enough target to exploit. After all, when the industry's comedic heavyweights decide to weigh in, you can bet the scandal has escalated. If Lively once thought she could keep this feud's uglier details out of public light, SNL's news segment all but buries that hope, making it painfully clear that her so-called drama is now mainstream comedic currency. But here's what truly caught people's attention. Jost's comedic jab also carried a certain relish, as though he and the SNL writers' room found the allegations against Lively too outrageous to ignore. For watchers, it raised a bigger question. Has Lively become such a lightning rod that even a stage as big as SNL sees mileage in lampooning her? Judging by the uproar that followed, the answer might be yes. Witnesses described Jost's bit as an irreverent, almost giddy lampoon of the rumored manipulations Lively has employed against Baldoni. Without naming names too directly, Jost's barbed references to a star who thinks lawsuits are personal playgrounds were unmistakable to anyone following the meltdown.
The White House, then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President Trump, which is like Justin Baldoni saying, "I'd love to work with Blake again."
Tongue firmly in cheek, he tossed out lines about someone's cunning, stunts overshadowing any actual claims, then hammered home that maybe you shouldn't pretend to be an innocent flower when you're out there trampling everyone in your path. The reaction? A wave of knowing laughter from SNL's studio crowd, morphing into thunderous chatter on social media once people realized which star was being skewered. Weekend Update thrives on current headlines, yet watchers were stunned to see a simmering lawsuit singled out. It signaled that the fiasco was no mere celebrity misunderstanding. The comedic talents behind SNL saw in Lively's rumored tactics enough comedic potential to run with, and in so doing, they cast Lively as the butt of a nationwide joke. Weekend Update thrives on current headlines, yet watchers were stunned to see a simmering lawsuit singled out. No longer confined to behind-the-scenes whispers, the friction between Lively and Baldoni has become an open secret. People who might never read entertainment tabloids or lawsuit filings are now seeing it dissected on SNL. As though that weren't damaging enough, viewers see Jost's jibe as confirming what rumor watchers have suspected for weeks: that Lively's image is taking a massive hit, and comedic commentary may well kick it while it's down. For those who've tracked the lawsuit from the beginning, it's no surprise to see public mockery ramping up. The friction between Lively and Baldoni, once framed as a simple contractual dispute, has swollen into a labyrinth of leaked messages, pointed allegations, and whispered motivations that paint Lively as more cunning than fans ever imagined. She's facing claims of weaponizing Me Too-style narratives, alleged behind-the-scenes sabotage, and questionable meltdown episodes at high-profile events. Even before Jost's comedic routine, the public had begun tuning in. But SNL's spotlight cemented that the drama wasn't just background chatter among industry insiders anymore, it's front and center comedic material. Jost didn't mince words when referencing the swirl of manipulations rumored to orbit Lively's every move. In comedic form, he essentially repeated the gist of countless online discussions that Lively's attempt to appear squeaky clean might actually be a carefully constructed facade, newly riddled with cracks. What's crucial is that comedic jabs typically reflect broad public sentiment. If there were no appetite for mocking Lively's alleged double dealing, the SNL team wouldn't have gambled on the bit. Instead, they recognized a story so widespread, so steeped in rumor, that turning it into a comedic target seemed inevitable. With each broadcast snippet, they further pushed the narrative that Lively has become an emblem of disingenuous celebrity behavior, someone who claims victimhood while quietly twisting the narrative to her benefit. Since launching her career, Blake Lively has performed the balancing act of bold red carpet presence, family-centric social media posts, and comedic banter with her partner, Ryan Reynolds.
And that's why I want to personally extend my gratitude to Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. I think we're all grateful, and I think we're good. I think everybody in this room, no matter whose side you're on, we can all agree to accept that there's probably not going to be a sequel. It ends with us, guys.
Rarely has her public facade cracked enough to reveal anything messy. That impeccable persona is taking major hits, especially with comedic voices like Jost joining in. His SNL punchline is more than just a comedic moment. It's a cultural signpost that says Lively's issues are no longer hush-hush. If viewers trust comedic commentary as a reflection of mainstream attitudes, it implies the tide has turned against Lively. She's no longer the star no one dares to question. That shift can sabotage an entire brand. Potential endorsements or film deals can sour when it appears the star is embroiled in scandal. And no meltdown or PR statement can fully douse the comedic flames once they spread. Meanwhile, critics ask, if she's so outraged by jokes referencing the lawsuit, what does that say about the lawsuit's legitimacy? By opening the comedic door to Lively's rumored duplicity, SNL has effectively pried the hinges off. In Hollywood, comedic roasts are savage precisely because they ring true enough for watchers to giggle, yet scathing enough to slice through illusions. The consensus is that if Lively hoped to keep a tight lid on her behind-the-scenes tangles, this comedic segment may have dashed those hopes for good. Her perfect illusions might now be overshadowed by the comedic lens that paints her as the cunning orchestrator of the entire fiasco. Adding extra spice, Ryan Reynolds is intimately tied to Lively's image, and no comedic riff targeting her can sidestep that connection. Jost, who's ironically married to another Marvel star, Scarlett Johansson, didn't hold back in pointing out how Reynolds' comedic persona might be overshadowed by the lawsuit meltdown. Although SNL only danced around that angle, watchers quickly made the leap. If Lively's rumored manipulations are as bad as alleged, what does it say about Reynolds, who's presumably been at her side the entire time? Now, skeptics wonder whether Reynolds was quietly supporting questionable tactics or if he was left in the dark. The comedic bit hints that the entire Lively Reynolds brand might be rattled, reminiscent of comedic jibes about powerful couples who put on a united front while cracks form behind the scenes. People on social media have begun speculating that Reynolds may feel blindsided, or conversely, that he's complicit in overshadowing Baldoni for personal gain. The rumor machine churns out potential scenarios. Did Reynolds push his industry connections to hush certain revelations, or has he discovered the fiasco far too late? Either way, the comedic segment's references to a married partner who might be rethinking life choices speak volumes. Reynolds' comedic synergy with Lively was once an internet sensation. Now, Jost's jabs are fueling a wave of chatter that perhaps the comedic duo are embroiled in something deeper, even uglier behind closed doors. The spotlight has turned. From flirtatious tweets to complicated questions about moral boundaries, with Jost's SNL bit intensifying the speculation to a fever pitch. When an alleged scandal leaps from tabloid headlines onto the SNL stage, it signals a turning point. Hollywood watchers know that once comedic institutions see comedic gold in a controversy, it's a surefire sign the story resonates with everyday audiences.
Whose side are you on?
Well, Baldoni looks like what's the word? He's got like a. You remember going to school with that kid that always raised his hand real quick in school for extra credit?
Yeah.
But then he also hit on the recess teacher, remember? And she was 35 and he was 12.
Right.
But she still was like,
well, my husband's gonna be gone next week, so maybe come over and make a play
Callback.
Oh, now I remember. Yes, I do remember.
Baldoni was the hot kid that could fuck a teacher.
This phenomenon transforms a once private dispute into water cooler talk. Lively and Baldoni's lawsuit, previously dismissed by some as routine showbiz friction, has clearly ignited public imagination. Colin Jost's comedic commentary effectively says, "We're all aware of Lively's rumored manipulations, and we're finding them absurd enough to mock." That comedic stance suggests a collective shift from mild curiosity to outright entertainment spectacle. The power of comedic lampooning is that it can swiftly transform a star's image from glamorous to ridiculous. Once the comedic train leaves the station, it's very challenging for the star in question to recapture seriousness or trust. In short, SNL's involvement implies that Lively's damage control efforts might be failing. If she ever planned to keep the dispute's details behind a veneer of decorum, comedic roast is the ultimate demolition job, especially for an actress who built her brand on being poised and unassailable. People who see the skit or read recaps can't help but treat Lively's behind-the-scenes posturing as a comedic fiasco, fueling the notion that she's out of her depth. With SNL adding comedic fuel to the fire, watchers suspect this may not be the last comedic blow. Other platforms, talk shows, comedic commentary channels, late-night hosts often follow SNL's lead in piling on a scandal that's clearly capturing public interest. Each fresh punchline can deepen the blow to Lively's standing. Meanwhile, Baldoni remains a polarizing figure. Some see him as an opportunist capitalizing on Lively's meltdown, others as the main victim of her alleged duplicity. What's sure is that comedic commentary rarely stays contained once it starts. Fans will dissect every nuance of Jost's jokes, while rumor lovers spin new Lively meltdown stories about how she might respond. Perhaps she'll attempt a gracious comedic retort, or maybe we'll hear about another meltdown triggered by the mainstream jibes. If Lively's anxious about the negativity swirling around her brand, the addition of comedic roasts might push her to a point of no return. Observers also wonder if Lively or her attorneys might ramp up legal or PR strategies to curtail comedic references. But public jokes about a swirling, rumor-laden lawsuit are notoriously difficult to muzzle. If comedic attacks continue, each wave could intensify the meltdown surrounding Lively, making her lawsuit fiasco a never-ending saga. By all appearances, SNL's comedic thrust is but the first in a potential avalanche of roasts that highlight Lively's alleged manipulations and overshadow her attempts to cast herself as the wronged party. So where does the story leave us? One comedic zinger from SNL's Colin Jost may have reshaped the public view of Lively's legal entanglements with Justin Baldoni, slamming her rumored tactics into the comedic crosshairs for everyone to watch. In an era where celebrities guard their image at all costs, a mainstream comedic roast can destroy illusions with startling speed. Fans once saw Lively as glamorous and beyond reproach. Now they see comedic insinuations that she's controlling and manipulative. It's a key shift. Lively is no longer the beloved figure who might be facing a random lawsuit. She's the subject of comedic mockery, the name that draws an eyebrow raise as soon as Lively meltdown hits social media. Jost's jab is a nudge that this fiasco might get uglier if the comedic world keeps picking at it. Late-night shows often echo each other. If it works on SNL, you might see similar jabs on other comedic platforms. In showbiz, comedic pile-ons can flatten a star's reputation faster than any leak or rumor could alone. One big takeaway: Lively might have believed that by controlling the lawsuit's narrative, she could keep the negative aspects from leaking into primetime coverage. SNL's comedic approach reveals those illusions are gone. The rumor mill around the lawsuit is so potent that it's become comedic fodder, opening the floodgates for further jokes or potential revelations. The real question is whether Lively can contain the damage, or if this comedic moment marks a tipping point where her once invincible brand unravels under the Klieg lights of public scrutiny. For watchers invested in the Baldoni-Lively drama, SNL's jab is another sign that the story's set to escalate. We might see Lively lash out, remain silent, or try to put forth new evidence, all in an attempt to salvage face. The only certainty: comedic coverage seldom fades quietly once it's begun, especially when the subject is as high profile as Lively. Whether she can handle the comedic siege is now the question overshadowing everything else about her lawsuit. If SNL's comedic poke was any indication, it suggests the meltdown is far from over, and the comedic jabs might just be warming up. As the story continues to unfold, there's always more to discover. Thanks for tapping in now. Like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you're the first to know when more secrets come to light.